Hi everybody, welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia and today it's time for the March TBR. It is the last day of February and I do have plans. Before I start, I just want to have a little quick business note. I did add an email address to my channel a couple of weeks ago, but I've had to change it. The first one, it was working and then it locked me out, and to cut a long story short, I just started another one. So if you did send me any email in the past week or so, I probably have not been able to access it. Sorry. Please try again with the new email that is now included. So let's talk about March. There are a lot of possible themes and read-alongs and challenges for March, and I am participating in some of them. There's really too many to possibly join in on. I don't know, March is just really busy. And then I have the tug of books that I already just want to read that are sitting around. But I want to share with you what I have in mind, and you can let me know if you're going to read any of these books, which challenges you're going to do, etc. I'm interested to know what everybody is up to this month. All right, so first of all, let us address the mammoth in the room. March of the Mammoths is a challenge in which you select a book that is at least 800 pages that you have been wanting to read, and you commit to getting going on that book in the month of March. Now, what I have learned from watching some of the videos about March of the Mammoths is that the idea is not that you read the whole book in March. That is not the challenge, to try to somehow barrel through this really long book. The idea is that everybody probably has some kind of daunting, super long book that they've always meant to read or reread, and the challenge is start reading it and take your time, enjoy it. If you don't finish it in March, it doesn't matter, but just to get going on that book. So first of all, I originally thought it was a book over 500 pages. So when I found out it's actually 800, that greatly reduced my contestants, and that was helpful because I have a lot of books in that kind of 400 to 600 kind of range that I want to read, and that's a whole different personal challenge about embarking on longer books. But the mammoths, the really long ones, I just had a few. And before I go further, let me mention that I will include in the notes some links to the challenge originator videos. So if you want to watch those and hear more about the idea behind the challenge and see some ideas for possible books, some of the challenges this month have numerous co-hosts, but I will link for each of them. If I have information about hosts or creators, I will link some of that so that you can follow that trail if you want to see the original prompts, hear the announcement videos. And also, if you just look through people's March TBRs or you search under the name of the challenge, you will find lots of videos where people talk about what they're going to read, and you can get millions of great ideas by watching other people's content. So anyway, back to my selection. I am going to read David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. And this is a shorter mammoth. I think it's just, looks like it's about 850 pages. Since I recently read Demon Copperhead and had never read David Copperfield, I thought that this was a really good time to read it while the other book was fresh on my mind, and enjoy seeing the book that inspired Demon Copperhead. And already I went ahead and started and read like the first couple of chapters to get the feel of the book, and as if I didn't know what, the Dickens feel was, but I wanted to just kind of tiptoe in a little bit and see. And I already see several correlations where I'm like, oh, that's, kind of putting the two together. So I think it's going to be really fun. The real personal challenge for me with this one is that I am a one book at a time reader, almost always. I do not have numerous different ongoing books. Sometimes I might have like a novel and I'm reading some short stories. I watch a lot of videos where people are able to manage multiple books at the same time, but I just struggle with that. I'm just not good at that. I want to just focus on the one book. I know it probably sounds pretty old fashioned, but I prefer print books and I like them one at a time. I don't have anything against all the other formats. I think it's absolutely fantastic that there are so many options for different reading preferences. And I think it is absolutely fantastic if your brain is able to track all these different multiple things. But mine just doesn't work like that very well. And also like audiobooks, oh, it'd be great if I could enjoy audiobooks because I hear so many recommendations for good ones with excellent readers and all these things. But again, I cannot focus. If I listen to an audiobook, I'd have to sit down in a chair and just listen to it and not do anything else. And in that case, I could just be reading the book. If I try to do activities around the house while listening, I will completely space out and lose track of the whole thing. I'm like the person who's listening to music and has to stop and go back to the beginning of the song because I forgot to pay attention and the song played and I didn't even hear it. So that is my brain. And so therefore, March of the Mammoths is a true challenge for me because I don't want to just read this one book. I want to read a bunch of other things too. So I'm going to follow it kind of in the original intention and read 2 or 3 chapters a day. Now, the original intention actually was people only got the 2 or 3 chapters a week, I believe, when it came out in serial form. It took them months to read the book. I don't want to take months, but I'm going to read a little bit every day. So that is my plan, to read it kind of along the side. And I might not finish it within the month of March because there is some travel this month and I'm not going to drag this old chunkster along with me on an airplane or anything. So this will be staying at home. I will work my way along, and this will be a good experiment for me about reading multiple books at the same time. Maybe I will open a new folder in my brain and find out that I can do this after all. So let me know if you have this problem as well, because I just see so many people that are reading so many things at the same time, and I'd like to know what the secret of your success is. Another challenge this month is March Mystery Madness. And again, I will link some informative creator videos about this challenge. But basically, this is reading mystery books. And there are some prompts, and the prompts are in the format of lather, rinse, repeat, like you were washing your hair. So, and as I understand it, lather is sudsy, and that's like a cozy or a lighter type mystery. And then rinse is a detective cleaning stuff up. So I guess that would be, maybe your grittier type stories. And then repeat is a mystery that you want to read again. So I have 2 mystery books, and there could be more because there's a whole bunch of mysteries that are on the verge of being available at my library. They're all like acquiring, in processing, and I'm just like, hurry up. But here's what I have planned for sure. So I just started last night reading Exiles by Jane Harper. I'm a fan of Jane Harper, and I really like this character, Aaron Falk, who was in The Dry, and what was the second book that character was in? The one where they're out camping in the woods and a lady disappears. What was the book called? Force of Nature. And then she also wrote The Lost Man and Survivors, which I also read, but I especially like the ones with this character. The setup here is that Aaron Falk was going with his friend that I totally don't remember. His friend Greg that he met in the story of The Dry, who's the sheriff in that small town. Don't remember this character at all. But anyway, they became friends, and Greg has invited him to come to his newborn son's christening. And so he travels to, it's not the town from The Dry, but it's like Greg's family's hometown. He travels there, but when he gets there, the christening ends up getting canceled because someone who's close in their family had disappeared at a local food festival, leaving behind her infant daughter. So like when the fair closed down that night, the stroller with the baby is just sitting there like where the bicycles and stuff are, and there's no sign of her. And so everything gets canceled. And then now it's a year later and they've rescheduled the christening ceremony. And so Aaron is going to the town again. The last time he got there, everything went sideways and then he left and went home. So he's coming back. The woman still has never been found. So no sign of her. They just don't know. And that's as far as I've gotten. That's just the very beginning. And so it's a missing person. I don't know if it's going to evolve into a murder investigation, but that's the beginning of the mystery. But I love these Australian settings in this book, and they're not all in the same place. He's moved around to different parts of Australia as a detective. I don't even know, he's not there on the job, but I guess he's going to get sucked into having to investigate. And even her other books, I mean, they have shown me different parts of Australia, and it's pretty fascinating. So that is a mystery selection. And I have a backup mystery, too, that would fit in with Lather. And that is The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie. And so for 2 reasons, I have selected this, maybe 3. One is that it's a mystery and it's, mystery madness. Secondly, it is a little light, flimsy paperback, which would be great for traveling. I read last year, what was it? The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, and that was with a group, and we talked about Poirot the detective and how this was the first book that Poirot appears in, and several people in the group recommended this book. So I purloined this from my mother's bookshelves because she has a ton of classic mysteries, and I'm going back to visit her at the end of the month, so I should probably read it and put it back on her shelf. Another theme this month is about Irish writers. And this particular challenge has several prompts and also some buzzwords that you could use to tie to a particular reading. And I looked through the prompts and the buzzwords, and I don't know how they might relate to the books that I chose. I just chose 2 books that were by Irish authors, one that I want to read and one that I want to reread. And I'll have to report later on the connections that they might have to the actual prompts. I just don't know. But I will link the video so you can look at the prompts in case you want to think in advance and pick something out. So these are both collections of short stories, which I also thought would work well for me this month alongside these other longer novels. So the first one is Antarctica by Keegan, and I showed this in my haul video the other day. But I'm really excited. This is her first book, and it got rave reviews. And this was all the way back in maybe like 1999. And I don't know why it's called Antarctica yet, but I am just here for it due to loving Forster and small things like these. So I will be reading these for sure throughout the month, and I'll let you know what I think about them. And then a reread Irish book that I pulled is Dubliners. Doesn't look like anything, but maybe you can see Dubliners by James Joyce. I did read a couple of the stories last fall when I did Shorty September, and it reminded me that I wanted to read some more of them. And they have all of these lovely, I don't know if you can see that. I have written all over this book because I used it for a class way back in the day. In fact, there is, gosh, that is a blast from the past. There's a phone number from when I was in college on the inside of the book. I think either of these also would travel well because they're on the smaller side. So I really was thinking about that as I made my choices this month. So I do want to read Dubliners. If I don't have time for anything else, I want to read The Dead, because when I did Shorty September, I didn't have time to read The Dead because it's a longer story, but I want to read that one for sure. The read-alongs continue. I'm still participating in the Forster read-along. We read Where Angels Fear to Tread in January, and then we read short stories in February. And the March book is The Longest Journey, which was, I think that we're reading the novels in the order that he wrote them. Here's a description of this novel. Bookish, sensitive, and given to wild enthusiasms. I like him already. Ricky Elliott is virtually made for a life at Cambridge, where he can subsist on a regimen of biscuits and philosophical debate. But the love-smitten Ricky leaves his natural habitat to marry the devastatingly practical Agnes Pembroke, who brings with her, as a sort of dowry, a teaching position at the abominable Sawston School. Okay, so I'm hoping there's some humor in here because that setup sounds kind of funny. And then down here at the end of the description, it says we get a comic yet immensely moving vision of a country split between pragmatism and imagination, sober conformity and redemptive eccentricity, upright Christianity, and delirious paganism. Woo, I'm there for some delirious paganism any day. Those themes kind of remind me of some of the themes that come up in the short stories that we read too, especially the split between pragmatism and imagination, sober conformity, and redemptive eccentricity. That is definitely at play in those short stories. So I don't know if this is a novel I was not aware of at all, so I'm excited to read this. I have not read it before. Now, I am a little peeved. I got this, well, I got, not totally peeved, but I got it as a freebie. If you buy books from Thrift Books, you know, after you get a certain amount, you get like a freebie. So I put in for this for a freebie, but it was marked as a $6 and something book. And I paid like $1.50 for shipping, so I didn't put it with anything else. I just needed this for this purpose of, you know, starting the book. And I didn't just want to buy a random book that I don't need right now. So I was like, oh, I'm so virtuous. I'm only getting this one book. And then it gets here and it has like a clearance tag from Half Price Books. It was in the dollar bin at half price at some point, and they were going to charge $6 and something for it. Now, since I got it for free, you know, I can't really complain. But if I had paid $6.50 and it came with a dollar price tag, I'd be a little annoyed. But anyway, it's a decent condition hardback, so it's okay. Another group that I belong to is reading a book chosen to correlate with March being Women's History Month, and they chose Radium Girls. It's a nonfiction book. Okay, I've heard about this book and I've been interested in it. My only problem is I did not realize how thick it was, and I've got so much stacked up this month that now I feel a little doubtful about whether this is going to happen, because I kind of have a problem with committing to nonfiction to begin with. It's got to be really, really fascinating to me, and then I'm like, whoa, it's big and chunky. The Curie's newly discovered wonder drug shines bright in the otherwise dark years of the First World War, and hundreds of young girls toil amid the glowing dust of the radium dial factories until they begin to fall mysteriously ill. As the factories try to cover up the shocking secret, these determined shining girls suddenly find themselves embroiled in one of the biggest scandals of America's early 20th century. Now, I have heard about this. I've heard about the effects of the radium on these women. So I am very interested. Whether or not I will be able to read all this in time for the discussion, I'll attend the discussion and try to read some of it. And if it's, you know, an idea here is if it's really good, this could slide into the, you know, gradual reading thing behind David Copperfield. But we'll see how I do with it. If you have read this book, let me know. Is it good? Is it really, really good? Should I embark upon this, or should I just kind of skim through it and, you know, hide in the corner of the Zoom during the meeting? I might cheat. We'll see. All right, so those are the ones that are definitely linked to some sort of monthly challenge. Oh, I do have a few more books because that just wasn't enough, but these are some books that are really on my mind that I want to read this month if I can fit them in amidst all of the different things I wanted to participate in. I am dying to get started on Parable of the Talents by Octavia Butler. I showed this in my haul. It is the sequel to Parable of the Sower, which I loved last year, and I want to read it before that one gets too foggy in my mind. So if I can only squeeze in one more extra this month, it's this one. It's kind of lengthy, but it's also very light. So again, it has some portability, and I feel like maybe I could get really engrossed in this during a trip, but I really want to read this. And then I have 3 more books. These are of all my books that are floating around in my library that I'm like dying to read. These are all newer books. It's never even mind about the classics that I'm dying to get to, but these are just ones that I've shown lately from hauls that I really, really want to get to. And I won't go into detail because I've talked about them before and you've heard of them, but I'm just going to show you. and we'll see, because I'm kind of a mood reader. I might segue from something else and decide to read one of these instead. But we have Elena Knows by Claudia Piniero and translated by Frances Riddle. We have Signal Fires by Dani Shapiro. And of course, The Night Ship by Jess Kidd, frequently shown and still not yet read. So those are all the things I have on my mind. I am highly susceptible to the new release shelf at the library to make abrupt departures from my plans because I get excited and check something out. So we will just see how this goes, and especially my concurrent reading experiment. We'll just test the limits of this aging brain and see what happens. So that is my plan. Let me know what you have on deck. Which challenges are you participating in for March? And I hope that you have an excellent reading month ahead of you. I will be back on Friday for Friday Reads. Till then, have a great day. Bye-bye.